All right, let's move to my country, Big Ten country here. Ohio State and Penn State. George alluded to this in his toast, but this is a very, very important game for both teams, given the way the narratives of their season have gone. Obviously, Ohio State, Penn State, anytime is an important game. But all Ohio State is hearing right now is they've played no one. We can't take them seriously. They're stat padding, et cetera. And to an extent, I think some of that's true. When you've got C.J. Stroud and the first team offense on the field up 30 points in the fourth quarter against whoever was on the field for the Iowa defense at that point, you can't tell me they're not stat padding it a little bit. They got to play somebody. Penn State is somebody. And for Penn State, coming off of what Michigan did to them 2 weeks ago, this feels like a very, very big prove-it game. Now, they took care of Minnesota at home in the White House last week. I watched a lot of that game. Penn State looked pretty damn good. But that was also against Minnesota without Tanner Morgan. And Ohio State is certainly a much different test. So for overreaction purposes, fellas,
okay,
Ohio State and Penn State will be the game of the season because of all of this buildup that I just led us to, and it means so much to both of them.
The game of the season for whom?
For the Big Ten or
for the entire country, fellas?
No, no. I get it. You might have some people that, that cold front came through. They're a little shaking a little bit. No. That game, the game of the season.
We just saw
what it was supposed to be. And the next biggest one is going to be the one next week down south. That's where it is. The SEC is going to reside with a big game that has national implications. This game only has national implications for one team. It's Ohio State. Am I fake or am I real? Am I a fraud posing as a team that should be up here, or am I the real McCoy? That's all this is going to answer, because we know what Penn State is. And we watched them get drugged by Michigan, right? So it only benefits one side. The one that's coming in a week from now, that one's going to determine two positions about not only who dominates the East, but who also dominates in the rankings, because people feel that Tennessee should be at the number one seed, even over Georgia, who was idle last week. So, I look at that, and that we've had some humongous games already this year that have already given us a taste. I think that Ohio State Penn State game just slots in as big game. That's it. It's just big game. I mean, what time? It's going to be a noon kickoff anyways? Is it a Fox big noon kickoff?
Horrible by the networks to do that.
By the networks. Yeah. That is if it was that big of a game, it must be 3:30 or later. That's it.
Night game, whiteout.
Yeah. Night game, whiteout is what it should be. It should be
that tells you
ABC game.
Somebody in Columbus has some juice, though, to say that it might have been a whiteout on paper. And they said, hey, what would be nice if that game was played right at 12 o'clock? That'd be ideal.
Yeah.
And then somebody at the network said, yeah, we can make that happen. That should have been a night game.
Money talks.
It talks loudly. So let me ask you guys this. You guys are both familiar with LA, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's just take 4 different neighborhoods in LA. The Valley, Compton, Crenshaw, and Santa Monica. Right now, this current moment, Ohio State is the baddest in Santa Monica. And they're knocking out loudmouth dudes who kind of their size really smaller. And then they're knocking them out. And people are like, yeah, but you ain't in Compton. You ain't in Crenshaw. They even got gnarly dudes in the Valley. Yeah, but we'll all eventually meet up. We will see them. Correct. They're not in Compton, street corner to street corner in these knockdown dragouts. They're not. But untouched, unblemished, no scares. But they're knocking them out. But it's all going to funnel in anyway. And dare I throw a metaphor on top of metaphor, but Max, the rest of these guys have heard me say this multiple times. A bear is a bear. It don't matter if it's up against like a German Shepherd, if a bobcat sneaks into a bear exhibit, or some drunken dude who got funny and slipped in there, they're all getting ripped up. But just because we haven't seen it up against another bear, we're going to question the viability of this bear? I think that's wise. I just don't think it's wise. You still have the eyeball test, and they are treating inferior talent like inferior talent. There are no close calls. Georgia went to Missouri, snuck out of there. Alabama, now that you look at this Texas team that's been getting beaten, Iowa State only beat Iowa State by 3. They got out of Austin by a point. Ohio State has had no such drama. And because they haven't had drama, we're saying they're stat padding or this, that, or the third. No, they're just taking care of business on a schedule that was made 3 years ago. And it's still in the Big Ten, and all their heavyweight stuff really starts Saturday. And then they'll see Michigan. They'll see the state of Michigan here in the next couple of weeks, and then they'll be on into it. So I think everybody just has to kind of hang in there, but a bear is a bear is a bear.
So I love the analogy. I heard you drop that on Saturday night, and I was watching the post-game After Dark show. You guys should tune in if you're listening at home. You are like, what's that show? No, it's after all the action on Saturday. George and the fellas do a great job every single week. But let's dive deeper into that, right? Because Ohio State, I'm with you 100%. They're a bear. They've been ranked atop our Field of 12 rankings for, I think, 3 weeks now. And we flirted with, should we put Tennessee up there? Should Georgia stay there? They're the team at the throne still. They've got the crown. But we have Ohio State there. Is Penn State a bear? Like, no matter what, if Ohio State goes in and beats this team by 3-4 touchdowns, can we now say, okay, they've thrashed another bear? Or does it kind of become, well, maybe Penn State's, because I kind of heard that after Michigan did that.
Well, let me ask you two this question. Just quickly. If you guys are facing Georgia, what would you want to force Georgia to do offensively? What would you force them to do?
I can tell you this: I'd force a third receiving option to be your main guy.
But you'd want them to pass, yes? You want to turn them into a
pass? Yeah.
If you face Alabama, you got to go and secure what? You'd rather them become a what team?
I'd rather them become a running team than a passing team.
Come on, Max, let's go 2 for 2.
Yeah.
If you go see Tennessee, you got to focus your attention on the what game?
Oh, it's the passing game. Well, it's Hendon Hooker. You got to focus on. Forget
Correct.
everything. You have to focus on the guy. Not even.
Keep coming. We're
Yeah.
not. If you face Michigan, you want them to become a what team?
Passing team all the way.
Okay. Facing Ohio State, you want them to become what? What's the greatest threat from Ohio State? You want to your best route to victory is to try to get them to be a what?
I mean, if we're going off of Travion Henderson is obviously the lesser of that receiving core and CJ Stroud.
Right.
But it's still, like you said, it's still a bear because you got about 2 first-rounders on that offensive line that all they love to do is pancake, people left and right. So, I mean, I think when you put it that way, from what we've seen, you have to say that Ohio State's the most well-balanced team. And they also carry one of the toughest defenses too.
Rugged. Now, this is where I will give both of you, Georgia and Max. We've been calling Georgia the White Walkers for some time. We've been calling Alabama the Roman Army for some time. Defense is sturdy. To me, Ohio State, new DC, all over the place. They're dynamic. They're ball hawking. It ain't just like rallying and making tackles. But honestly, if everybody stepped back, yes, some teams have had their big heavyweight match already early in the season, and they come through that crucible. Ohio State is coming. But if you step back, there is no singular thing that you say, we got to take this part of it out. They got the nastiest receiver in all of football in Smith and Jigba. 350-plus yards last year in the Rose Bowl, and he was a third all year. Then he becomes the one. He's out for Notre Dame and then 6 more games. He just got back last week. They didn't skip a beat. Still putting up 70, still putting up 50, still putting up 600-700 yards total offense. I ain't going to call it balanced, but it's duly effective. It's going to be interesting. They can get in a track meet with you, and they can get down on the ground and pound with you. Georgia's a ground and pound. Alabama wants to stay off the ropes. Now it sounds funny, but they're not really ground and pound anymore. We know what Tennessee is. It's all haymaker, haymaker, haymaker. They're not going to tie up with you. Ohio State could play either type of game and bring that sturdy defense with them. It's going to be fascinating, but